We put a huge premium on how fast you can go from idea to in people's hands. We get really excited when we get like our first 10,000 weekly active users or daily active users. And a lot of Google teams, we joke it's like dashboards may not count that low. It's going to make like this 20, 30 slide deck that's kind of an overview of this entire set of 70 sources. You can have a whole team's knowledge base with one button turned into one of these like video overview talking slide explainers. You also want to go out and just be with people. Because often when you build something really amazing, you see it in people's eyes when they use it. People who like to tinker, people who like to build, they express themselves through prototypes, not docs.
You mentioned like you have to hire the right people. So like what kind of people do you look for?
All right, hey everyone. I'm really excited for today's guest, Josh, VP at Google Labs and also Gemini app. Josh is widely loved inside Google, I think. So I'm really excited to get him to demo a bunch of new Gemini features, NotebookLM, and even Flow, and also talk about how he's kind of built this shipping culture inside Google. All right, so welcome, Josh.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Great to see you.
Yeah, I'm like super impressed by you and the team, man. So why don't we just start by doing some live demos for fun? You know, let's show all the cool stuff that you guys are working on.
All right, sounds good. Let me project my screen here. I'm going to go over and... Okay, we'll just do like a whistle stop tour through some tabs here, Peter, and jump in at any point, I guess. So I thought maybe where we could start is maybe Nano Banana. We've added the banana emoji in many places in the app. And one of the things that's been just so fun to see is how creative people have gotten. And this first one here on the home screen, Peter, this is this custom mini figurine. I don't know if you've ever heard the backstory on this, but this actually started in Thailand. It was something that went viral in Thailand and then spread to Indonesia and Vietnam and then just like the rest of the world. And so we've tried to make it really easy. Today, if you go to Gemini on the home screen, you can tap one of these, upload an image, and we've got, this is the prompt. If you see, it's a 1/7 scale figurine. And then it kind of breaks it down. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this online or puts you on the desk. And anyway, this has gone incredibly viral. At one point in some countries, this was as much as 30 or 40% of the queries we were seeing and sort of like the peak moments. So it's very fun. And one of the things that's been interesting too is like, I'll just show you a couple of things that stood out to me. This is just stuff people are posting. So one very common thing we're seeing is people doing kind of style transfers on images. So there's a watercolor, it's kind of nice. This one is super cool. A lot of people have been doing interior design. But what's a little different about this is you see the picture on the wall behind the couch. These are like artists putting their own pictures in these scenes and then selling them. So it's kind of like you put that picture in and you can go black and white if you want. And then it's like sold. So this is kind of an interesting case. We saw one wave of people doing interior design, put this couch in this room. And now we're starting to see these almost like, placements of certain things, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
This one's kind of fun too. This is someone, we're seeing this a lot too. They may take like a picture or an illustration in this case, and then like turn it into like embroidery or something. So there's a whole bunch of like Nano Banana inspired merch that's happening around, stickers or buttons. People are making all kinds of physical world things. And I think that's pretty cool because this is stuff, again, we never really could have dreamt up, but you put this kind of tool in people's hands and they go wild with it.
Yeah, it's kind of great to just observe what your users are doing and then just like add a default prompt on the home screen to make it easier, right? Like the miniature figurine stuff. It's great.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's some cases it's things like that, figurines. You saw also on the home screen, there's lots of things here of just like headshots, super popular. Even things of like you through the decades, the 80s style, the 90s, the 2000s, like all of this is very, very popular and kind of globally interesting to people.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And like Gemini really took off, right? After Nano Banana launch, right? People love pictures.
Yeah, that's right. And pictures is kind of universal language in a lot of ways. There were definitely points I was trying to tweet about, kind of trying to keep the status of things going because it was just really melting TPUs. It's still like, all kinds of new highs and new records and things. So it's been really fun. I've tried to hold on, keep it going.
Amazing job. So it's called Nano Banana. So is it going to be like a big banana coming soon or like a better banana?
This is one of the top questions. Yeah, is there going to be like a large or macro or XL banana or something? Funny, the name of this all got started one of our the product managers on the team actually came up with the name, and
Hmm.
we kind of fun. It was, it started showing up in some of the chatbot arenas and and we just kind of ran with it. In fact, even that banana emoji that shows up, in the picker and things, that was
Yeah.
something where the engineers just for fun, landed that code one night, probably after midnight or something. But it's kind of its
Nice.
own little life to itself.
Yeah, you gotta keep the memes. Like the memes make
That's
spread the
right.
word. Yeah, yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, we'll see. We are starting to work right now already on some of the next generation of where this is going. We're hearing all your
Mhm.
feedback out there of, one of the things I'm very excited about. This first Nano Banana model was a big leap forward, obviously, in kind of this conversational editing. So
Mhm.
expect more there. We're really excited about what we can do with that. I think the other connection we're starting to see more advanced users do right now is putting together Nano Banana and VO, which
Mm.
again, for insiders is like, exactly what I'm saying. But for the outside world, it's just like, I want to make my thing move and like animate it, make it a video. So I think we're going to try to make that obviously really easy. People are already starting to do that naturally.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing is kind of interesting, Peter, is like, even a year or so ago, 9 months ago, maybe, these models weren't that great at text.
Mm.
And they've gotten way better at that. And so there's a whole bunch as we're thinking about Nano Banana 2 when it comes to like how to give you more control over generating things. In some cases, maybe it has a lot of text on it, which historically you never would have thought of as maybe an output from an imagery model.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's plenty to come here. We're very excited about it.
Yeah, the text one is actually really important because like, I still kind of make infographics by hand. And like if you can, satisfy a lot of the marketing use cases, then I think like content creators, like marketing agencies will jump on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the top feedback areas we hear from people is like how this is an unbelievable kind of like single shot experience, but I want to do more of this editing and kind of iterate with it. And so, yeah, watch this space.
All right. All right. You're shipping like 10 things every day, man. Okay. All right. Let's talk about your other product, Notebook LM. That's also really
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. No, this is one of our original Google Labs projects. I'll pull it up here too. I've got some stuff I wanted to show you. I mean,
Mm.
here the way to kind of think about Notebook is, it always started from this idea that how can we help you kind of understand anything,
Mhm.
and the feature that put it on the map almost a year ago in 10 days back was the audio overviews and kind of the podcast, and really where this team has gone in the last year is super exciting, and kind of where it's going is even more exciting. So where it's been, obviously, there's now a mobile app. There's new ways you can transform this content. And one of the things I'm really excited about is right here at the top in this top row. These are
Mhm.
called featured notebooks. And what we've done is we've gone out and we've kind of worked with different partners. You can see here, there's folks like from the Atlantic or the Economist or certain authors like Eric. And what's cool is if you tap in, like, say, this Economist one, this is a notebook that basically comes pre-bundled with 70 sources, as you can see here. This is the Economist's World Ahead Report. It's awesome
Wow.
kind of annual report.
Yeah.
And what we see here, Peter, is like a glimpse into the future of how the notebook itself is like a new container or a new format. And it comes with sources on the left. You can obviously Q&A it in the middle like you always have been in Notebook. And then
Mhm.
all of these rich kind of studio or media outputs on the side. So it's got things like, of course, the mind maps you can expand, and it's all based on this content, like always.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
This is actually the one I wanted to show you. So this is an area we're super excited about. These are called video overviews. You can think of them almost as like talking slides, where I'll just make this full screen for a second. And this is, the World Ahead's report, and it's going to pull out like a 7-minute clip. So it'll go through as it's talking here and just pull out all these different interesting insights as it goes through. And it's going to make like this, 20, 30 slide deck that's kind of an overview of this entire set of 70 sources.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unbelievable when you start to think about kind of these content transformations that we're right on the cusp of. And so this one, of course, teachers love this, students love this. We're seeing a ton of enterprises pick this up too, because you can imagine you can have a whole team's knowledge base with one button turned into one of these like video overview talking slide explainers. So it's quite powerful.
Yeah. Nobody likes making slides manually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is actually kind of, it's interesting you mentioned that, Peter, because this is where we're excited to kind of see where this goes.
Yeah.
Because you imagine something like a Nano Banana model that can style slides and that consistency across maybe a whole deck with sources. It reminds me, like, one of the things on the Google Labs team we've been thinking about for a while is like, what's kind of this look like? We've seen like the rise of creators, and that gave birth to like YouTube and other types of format. What does it look like for people who are curating, in this case, knowledge, or in other cases, like visual assets, or, things for a business or an entrepreneur, that kind of thing? So there's a whole, I think, rich area, so stuff to explore when it comes to the like curation to output using AI to kind of help transform stuff.
Yeah, curation is kind of creation too. So it's yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Composio. Most of the paying and shipping AI features doesn't come from the model, but from the integrations. You're dealing with messy APIs, fragile tool calls, and hours lost to debugging and figuring out why something broke in Slack or Salesforce. Composio gives you one SDK to connect to 800 plus apps like Slack, GitHub, Gmail, Jira, and they built the Rube.app that plugs all of those apps straight into an AI chat, so you can just ask, pull me the latest metrics from Mixpanel and update linear. Now, instead of fighting with APIs, you can focus on actually shipping faster. Check it out at getrube.link/Peter or the link in the video description. Now back to the episode.
And another thing that comes to mind is like I feel like AI often gets you like 90% of the way there. But it'll be even better if this thing was actually like, I can actually edit a Google slide with this thing and then like finish the last 10%. Like I want to tweak some text or something. That'll be really amazing.
You're reading the roadmap. It seems like.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, this is one of the top requests. Another request we get too, Peter, is like, okay, slides are one format, podcasts are another format. There's lots of things people are interested in, of like, you mentioned infographics earlier, to think of the bar either in terms of time or cost or expertise to make an awesome infographic. Trying to figure out like, how do we make tools that help the very best people do that maybe faster or more creatively, but for all the people who never could do it, that's also a huge opportunity. And so a lot of our projects have that kind of dual focused oftentimes.
Yeah, it's going to lead to an explosion in creation. I'm really excited about it.
Well, you'll have to give early feedback here on stuff.
Well, I mean, okay, so like, in my opinion, there's a lot of competition in the space, but like Google is like by far ahead on multimodal AI. And, I think we saved the best for last, the video part, right? Like, do you want to show the...
Yeah, I'll show something on this real quick. Yeah. So I'll flip over. So this is Flow. This is a project that just came out at Google I/O. Really interesting backstory on this project. A lot of our Google Labs products, we work with teams around Google, and in this case, it was very close collaboration with Google DeepMind. Obviously, they built the VO3 model that was the breakthrough that brought not only this incredible quality you can see on the screen, but sound effects. So it was the first time you could kind of have the silent picture era ended, and we moved to kind of sound effects and dialogue and things like that. But this project went from idea to in people's hands in I/O in less than 100 days. And it's like a really good example of kind of the kind of phase we're in right now at Google, where people are just so energized and the tech's amazing, but it's also how do you package it in kind of a way where people can really get the most out of it. So here's what's kind of fun about this. So Flow's the tool. You can make stuff with it, 8-second clips. You can stitch them together, export it out. What's going on with kind of Flow TV, and it's just going to kind of rotate through, just like it sounds like. This is kind of like a gallery of all the different stuff, that you can make with this tool. So whether it's like interviewing an owl here, or you'll have like this talking skunks, like these are kind of designed to be, and I can kind of flip through this gallery so you can see these are like fake infomercials, underwater. It's just this incredible set of stuff that you can kind of play with. And one of the big trends we're seeing right now, Peter, is people want to go in and kind of remix things. So they may be like, oh, hey, this like bubble thing is kind of cool. So they may click on that. And then you can see here at the bottom, we've got like the whole prompt that you can kind of play with. And then what's really amazing about Flow, not only does it bring kind of audio for the first time, this remixability and the ability to bring in reference images. So you can bring in like, okay, I'm in this whatever pyramid looking scene, kind of in this dark area. You can bring in certain objects that you want to insert into the scene. And I think this is, again, this next stage of really video generation. And it gets kind of that same Nano Banana editing feel.
Yeah.
And so much control this gives kind of creators, which we're really excited about.
So I can bring my face in here, like to be the actor?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think interesting is people start mashing up different things. So you might go in and say like, okay, let me go back to like the gallery view here. You could
yeah,
go in here and say like, okay, here's a Christmas tree and it's got the reindeer and Santa running through it, right? And then
yeah,
it's like, oh no, make them take off and go over the tree. So you can like really direct these scenes in like a very interesting way. And of course,
yeah.
bring yourself into it too.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of really cool YouTube videos coming out of this. I'm sure, like just
Yeah,
people
yeah,
splice these scenes together.
that's
Yeah,
right. Well, there's already tons of them. And so, Flow's a product. What's really cool about this is it's not something you just ship at IO and you're done.
yeah.
Literally, this team is like every week, every other week, shipping new things. So just in the last 3 weeks, you can now make videos not just in landscape mode, but also portrait mode, which is awesome for
Mhm.
shorts or other things you want to do that are more mobile optimized. We've also made it now, we've made some amazing improvements in the efficiency to serve the models. We have an unbelievable serving team at Google. And so
Mhm.
by making these models cheaper, we can give away more credit. So now if you're part of the AI Ultra plan, for example, you basically have unlimited generations. And so what we're
Wow.
seeing is people will go do a bunch of quick, kind of fast generations, create almost like a storyboard. And then you can kind of put together the best, cherry pick your best ones and turn that into actually a final production.
Yeah. Yeah, you can probably build a product around there, right? Just like a storyboard product where like each one has a prompt and you just cut the ones that you like.
Yep.
You probably work on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and that's
Yeah.
kind of how Flow works today. We're optimizing that more too, because I think what we're finding is so interesting to co-create. We're doing this project with folks. Some of them are down in Hollywood. They're big name directors, but we're also doing it with a lot of what we call like AI filmmakers. They're people that are kind of building stuff AI first. They're AI native when it comes to kind of creation flows, and
Yeah.
so getting to study their workflows and try to build products for that is a lot of fun. It teaches you stuff every week too.
That's very exciting. Like that's probably like one of the new jobs that AI can create, like AI filmmaker. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. I think these are all like super cool demos, and like before I started talking to you and the team, like my impression of Google was like this big bureaucracy where you have to like get approval and like it takes forever to ship anything. And maybe some parts of Google that's still true, but like really impressed by how you kind of build a shipping culture inside Google. So maybe you can talk about how this happened.
Yeah. Um, well, I would say it's funny. I started at Google as an intern almost
Yeah.
16 years ago, and a lot of the things we've tried to do, whether it's Google Labs or now the Gemini app or even like the AI Studio team, these are all very fast moving teams. I think one of the ingredients is the type of people we try to bring onto the team. And I'm happy to
Mm.
talk more about that if you want at some point. But I think we're seeing it now across different parts of Google. And to me, that's what's really exciting is it reminds me like when I started at Google, you look at the velocity and the progress out of like AI mode in search, all of Google DeepMind, parts of Chrome and Workspace. It's just like it's spreading around.
Yeah.
Uh, and I would say we play a small part in that, but we're trying to do our part in it. But what are the ingredients? Let's see. Very small teams.
Mm.
Most of our Google Labs teams start with like 5 to 7 people. It's usually
Mm.
like PM, some engineers, UXer, go. It's like, we put a huge premium on how fast you can go from idea to in people's hands. And
Mm.
so I mentioned we talked about Flow. I mentioned less than 100 days. I think that one was like 86 days or something like that. But we're really trying to optimize kind of the whole thing towards put it in people's hands. And then, I mean, you've been around a lot of products too. Like that's when you really realize how far off you are in terms
Yeah.
of building something. So we put a lot of focus on that. We put a ton of focus also, I would say, on trying to predict different scenarios of like future outcomes. So I'll give you an example. We're really obsessed right now about what's the future of software development going to look like. And so we may take several different product bets. Sometimes they're conflicting, honestly, about
Mm.
what that might look like. And I think that's a big other kind of part of it is like you're trying to stay on the frontier of where the model is, the capabilities, the raw power, but you're also trying to keep a pulse on like where the user needs are and try to connect those two. And that's something I think our team tries to do a lot. And we talk a lot about co-creating with people in the different industries, whether it's filmmakers or musicians or artists or teachers or all these different sort of professions.
Yeah, and I think that feedback loop with the user is like really important, right? Because like you don't really know what they want until you actually put it out there and like they start playing
That's right.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah. usually when we're talking to people, we're trying to figure out like what's a big pain point or something that makes them grumpy is kind of the way I think about it. And it's like,
Yeah.
those are usually good products if you can find something around that.
So like, you don't actually, do you spend a lot of time on like planning and like, internal alignment stuff, or are you just like, hey, let's get out there? Like, do you have to go through you and Demi and everyone has to approve the product before you ship it, or how does that work?
Oh yeah, good question. I mean, I guess we still have like annual planning at Google in
Yeah.
that sense, but it's not it's funny the way we've set ours up right now is it's kind of uh we kind of come back when we have like kind of a hit on our hands.
Mm.
Then we try to staff it quickly. So what I found over time is it's one of the mistakes I made early on in my product career is you would hire too big of a team too early.
Yeah.
And it kind of creates, work and you're trying to come up with the right thing, but you're really not sure even what the product is yet. And
Mm.
so one of the things we've done here has been a little bit more like reactive to that market pull and that demand. So when something like, for example, NotebookLM took off, a lot of people were like, well, where's the mobile app? And we're like, we don't even have a mobile team yet. So, it's like we're trying to think through like, is there something here before you actually kind of staff it up? And then you kind of get that. Obviously, people want to join, and it's part of the exciting part. But that's one way to think about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like there's so many benefits to having small teams. Like people feel more autonomy, feel more ownership. There's less coordination tax. Like it just makes it's so much more fun.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, you mentioned like you have to hire the right people. So like, what kind of people do you look for to bring on these small teams?
Oh yeah, yeah. This is one of the number one things. It's funny. When we started up Google Labs, we kind of wrote this doc called Labs in a Nutshell,
Uh-huh.
and it's kind of like sort of the mission, the charter. It's all in one place. It's like 2 pages. It's a very short, concise thing. And my favorite section in that doc is called "Who Thrives in Labs," and we
Mhm.
tried to outline. We ended up writing, I think it was like 15 or 16 or 17 bullets. We were like, okay, you don't have to have all these, but the more you have, the better. And it's things like one of the most interesting signals, especially interviewing really any discipline at this point, product, UX, Eng, is kind of what are you building in your spare time?
Yeah, exactly.
So much kind of just in like the people who like to tinker, people who like to build, they express themselves through prototypes, not docs or things. You know what I mean? Like that's a
Yeah.
huge factor. We're really interested in people that are just like incredible at their rate of learning. One
Mm.
of the things I'm finding right now, and you tweet about this all the time too, is like the pace of change right now is so fast, and like the
Yeah.
ability to be able to kind of react, but also learn and kind of dot connect across different things, hugely important in a team
Mm.
like Gemini or Labs or AI Studio. The other thing I always like to try to find people who are, they're kind, they're humble, they work hard. I love being around people who kind of ooze energy. They're like high energy optimist type people. I found, these early stage projects, it's so hard to like, you always have these existential questions of like, is my thing even going to work? And so
Yeah.
you want to be around people who kind of have this like, we can do this. We got a shot at this. We're going to go for it. Kind of that underdog mentality a little bit.
Yeah, man. And I also think it's like way more fun to go 0 to 1 than trying to tweak a little button in like, Gmail or something. Like there's a way more product surface area, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I'm very thankful for those people too, but I think for me, it's like trying to invent something from nothing is
Yeah.
just the best. I just love it. So I think, yeah, this is kind of maybe the theme across a lot of this stuff that I get the chance to work on right now.
And how do you think about like some common big company stuff that's like you have to deal with, which is like there's dependencies, there's like tracking goals and this kind of stuff. Like for example, for VO, right? When I started playing with VO,
Yeah.
it was in some random URL. I was like, why isn't this stuff in Gemini? And then eventually made it into the Gemini app. So like, how do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think in general, yeah, sometimes we end up testing things on labs.google or may come to another product later or things like that. It's a bit chaotic for sure in terms of we're trying to experiment and get stuff out and learn. Here's how I think about it. I mean, I think whether you're in a startup, you're starting yourself, or you're in a company like Google or anywhere in between, you've always got like stakeholders and stuff. And
Yeah.
it might be the board. It might honestly your users and your customers are like the ones I always think about the most,
Mhm.
like as stakeholders and trying to please and delight. But I think for us, what we're trying to figure out, and hopefully you're seeing this over time, we've got more to do, but is like how, the Gemini app, we want that thing to really stand for something, which is a personal, proactive, powerful assistant. It's a life assistant.
Mm.
And so that you can imagine over time, that life assistant will do more and more stuff. Like today it might only create 8-second videos. Maybe in the future, you'll be able to do longer form things or something like that. But I think our current mental model and why we have Google Labs even to begin with, just to take that example, there's so many of these. You saw Flow and like how dedicated and purpose built that is for a certain type of user too. And so we're in kind of the early days of all this and really trying to experiment widely and then figure out kind of where the traction is.
Got it. And in terms of like just measuring how successful teams are, like, do you care more about like just the craft of the product? Because a lot of this 0 to 1 stuff might not find product market fit, right? Or do you try to be like,
Oh yeah.
Like you don't have some like grow some metric by 5% thing, right? Like how do you?
Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. We have a joke on the team. Yeah. For a lot of our products, we get really excited when we get like our first 10,000 weekly active users or daily active users. It's like, in a lot of Google teams, we joke, it's like dashboards may not count that low kind of thing. It's like, for us, those milestones are really important. And because it's starting to show, the retention and sort of people coming back to a product, which is kind of our best proxy that we're making something useful.
That's right. Yeah.
But I would also say dashboards can be very deceiving in the early days of product development. I always like to talk about and kind of try to coach our teams on like, you want to be looking at the dashboards, you want to develop an intuition for that, but you also want to go out and just be with people.
Yeah.
Like get outside this building and go to a coffee shop, go to a university, cafe, campus, and like, because often when you build something really amazing, you see it in people's eyes when they use it. And they may smile, or it may surprise them in kind of an interesting, like delightful way. And so those are some of the more qualitative things, at least I'm always trying to look for in the early days of something.
Yeah, like people get too scientific with this stuff. Like just like go talk to 5 users. Like let's go.
That's right. That's right. Users. Yeah, that's a very common thing. And I think especially at a place that's like very data driven, which a lot of our tech companies are, you can kind of over optimize for that. And sometimes it's literally, it's more art than science in those early days.
That's amazing. That's amazing that you built it, because it's very hard. It's very hard to build like a startup culture inside a big company, man. It's like very hard. So the fact that you have this going on, and I know some of your reports, and they love it, speaks volumes.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, in the whole industry right now, but I think especially this part. I mean, like I said, I've been at Google a while, and I'm definitely having just tons of fun. This is one of the best times for sure.
Let's like a look towards the future a little bit more, and you talk about building a personal assistant. It's funny because I have a gem where I have this Google Doc, and hopefully it never leaks anywhere, but I have this Google Doc where it has all my personal information. It has like, what gives me energy, what doesn't give me energy, what I'm working on right now, what I'm, what I'm afraid of, blah, blah, blah. And like even some like financial information. And then I give it to Gemini, and then using that is able to give me like way more personal advice. And I check in with it maybe like every quarter, give me a pep talk. Yeah. But like, have you thought about this? Like, how do you scale this thing to more people? Because like, I think right now these LLMs are like pretty knowledgeable, but like they don't know too much about you, right? I mean, they just know.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest areas we're excited about in Gemini right now. When I talked about those 3 Ps, like personal, proactive, powerful, there's a reason personal is the first one. And I think one of the things, we're testing it internally right now. Hopefully we'll be coming soon to you and others, but we're really interested in, one of the top requests we get from people is, I just want to hook my Gmail or my Google Photos or like other parts of my Google life into Gemini and be able to use it for things like you're saying, whether it's your, I guess you call it a quarterly pet talk or something, or like quarterly check-in. But it's that's something, of course, there's a lot we have to get right with, it has to be very clear what data is coming in. You have control over it, privacy, security, all of that, which we will. But I think one of the things that is so kind of amazing about it, as I've been using it internally now, is the types of questions you can ask. So you can ask very specific things, like you want to retrieve some piece of information, maybe, deep in your inbox or something. The questions that I'm finding more interesting are some of the ones, maybe it's how you're using your gem and that life doc you have, is like, how should I be thinking about like the next few years of our family life? Or what are certain ways that I can be a better dad? or they're kind of more these like big open-ended questions
Mhm.
that if you imagine something like Gemini has this understanding of you with your permission, of course, the kind of ability for these models to work through all that context and the multimodal context too, because remember it's photos, it's videos, it's all kinds of text documents and things. Um,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. And we've still got to improve it before we actually ship it out. But it's like there's the promising signs are there for sure.
They gotta put you in charge of the the Google Workplace, man. That team needs to move faster with all the AI features and Gemini integration.
Oh
We
well,
can
I
cut this
was
part
like,
out, but you know,
there's a lot coming there. So be
you like them
get
there? Okay.
ready. Yeah, it'll be good. It should be good.
Yeah. Because yeah, if you have my calendar, my Gmail, like just those two things alone, that's like a ton of context to make it super personal.
Well, and from our earlier point too, Peter, remember we were talking about like curating stuff.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is context engineering, right? And making
Yeah.
it easy for people to be able to point the model at certain kind of pools of information that they
Mhm.
want the model to kind of work on. And so I think that's another thing to me is very interesting about these Gemini models have always been multimodal since the very first Gemini 1.0 release. It's very
Mhm.
different than some of the other models in the market, but I think that deep kind of native multimodality, it's also what makes something like Nano Banana happen. It's like you can just talk to it or describe it, and Gemini knows kind of what's in the scene and can make the edits. Do you know what I mean? So it really shows the value of that like integrated multimodality.
Yeah, that's like a huge differentiator for sure for Gemini. And actually on that topic, like you mentioned somewhere that like like a year or two from now, we're not going to be like typing little messages into the chat prompt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like so what do you think? Like a year from now, we're just going to be talking to Gemini like through voice or like using vision, or like what would interaction model be like?
Yeah. Oh, man. Any of these predictions are always dangerous. But I will say this: I think, like, the it's hard for me to believe a year from now we will still be reliant so much on kind of the chatbot back and forth interface. I
Yeah.
I think there will always be a place for that. You may always be in like I don't know a busy bus or subway or something where you don't want to just like talk out and you want to type or whatever. But I
Mhm.
think the at least outside Google, the leaps we're starting to see in sort of voice, both understanding and generation. You're seeing Nano Banana with like the imagery side. You've seen VO with the video side. There, there's so much here. I think we have to go in terms of just UX and UI innovation.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, we see this all the time. Like our Gemini live conversations are like 5 times longer because people will turn it on in the car or they'll turn it on a walk around their neighborhood or something. They'll just be talking to it. So I do think like, anytime you've had these big tech shifts, there's often kind of an input output shift that comes along with it and kind of an interface design type shift. And I actually think we're in just like the early innings of this. I think there's tons of innovation and really for a lot of our UXers on the team, I mean, they just love this is like such an exciting moment because you're kind of breaking out of these very rigid kind of input output to something that can be way more dynamic and fluid.
Yeah, you're not like trying to hit buttons and stuff. You're actually like using all the. Yeah, I go on walks in my neighborhood a lot and talk to AI, and maybe my
Yeah.
neighbors think I'm weird, but
I'm
I know
curious
talk to
if
AI.
you're up for sharing, like, what kinds of things are you talking to it about? Or are you kind of thinking through things with it or what?
Like I have like a problem at work or like some sort of document I'm trying to figure out, and then I'm like, and okay, I just copy the whole document into AI conversation, and then I turn on voice and be like, hey, let's work on this problem together, and then I kind of go back and forth with it. And like I feel like my brain works a lot better on a walk outside than like sitting at my desk. Yeah, so I much prefer to go out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I do the same. I do a very similar thing where you're kind of almost like you want a thought partner. And it,
yeah,
it doesn't necessarily fit when you're like in front of your, your laptop or your desktop. You want to kind of be out on the go or something.
yeah. Like I joke that like sometimes some days I talk to AI more than my wife. I mean, for better for worse.
Oh, interesting.
Like it's hard to load you know thousands of tokens of context into my spouse. Like they're not gonna listen for that long. They're gonna get bored.
Well, it is interesting. Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you think about that again, that same comment or that same theme of like, how do you curate the context and sort of bring that to there? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, I guess we have like 10 years of context, so maybe that beats Gemini on that. But
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's funny when you think of people in your life that you do kind of have that much shared context. It is like spouses or maybe parents, siblings, or best friends from like childhood and things. But it, yeah, these are kind of, and you think about those interactions. I don't know about you in your situation, but like if my wife and I are at a party or something, there's like usually a lot of context where it might be like, okay, it's time to go. Or something. Or like, she never has to say anything, or I don't have to say anything. You just kind of know because you're in sync with the person. So
that's a good point. You have this shorthand for conversations, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so like one final topic. I just want to get into the nitty gritty of how you and your teams actually work with Gemini. Like, do you use Gemini? Like, do you prototype stuff first, or how do you guys actually build stuff?
Oh yeah. We're using it. I feel like the tipping point for us internally was Gemini 2.5 Pro when it came out in the spring. That model still is like top model on a lot of the leaderboards. It's even 6 months, 7 months on. We use it a ton. One of the things I'm really excited about, that kind of tipping point, even say like AI Studio, we have people that'll go in. Here's a great example. One of the designers on our Flow team went into AI Studio a couple weeks ago, basically rebuilt Flow, vibe coded Flow, and has done all kinds of kind of next iteration features. Took him a week. And we think it's probably going to save somewhere on the order of 6 weeks of time to get those next set of features out. Just because he can take that, hand it off to the Eng team. We immediately can start doing user research. It's just so much faster. And so that's something we do a lot. We have another labs project we put out called Opal about a month or so ago. The idea behind that is kind of a visual like node-based tool where you can kind of chain together certain kind of calls. There's all kinds of agent frameworks obviously spawning everywhere, but we thought, what would it look like if you made kind of a visual editor or something like this? So this one's kind of interesting, Peter, because internally, all kinds of people now are creating these opals, as we call them. Good example, like one of our lawyers on the team, he created one that will like pre-review a lot of product documentation and look for very specific legal things as like a first pass, and sort of flag things that are like deeper review. So there's both on like the kind of creative side, the process kind of side, and then another one is super exciting. We're starting to use a lot internally. We have this coding product called Jules, where it's sort of this coding agent. One of the things that makes it really cool is it works in the cloud asynchronously. So we'll do a bug bash on the team, file up bugs, and then we just kind of put Jules on it and it'll just start fixing things. So like, so there's like a whole loop of these things that are happening even on like the kind of software development side that are also really, really exciting.
Yeah, you just give Jules a task and then it'll have a PR ready for it to review or something, right?
That's how it's working right now. And I think what's really interesting is like, where does it go next? And I think there it's like, could you imagine something like Jules monitoring feedback on your app or your product or whatever? And it's almost like helping curate the list of like, here are the top 10 customer issues. I've been able to work on like 4 or 5 of them. And you're going to have to focus on, these 3 or 4, something like that. But it really starts to show like, I think a vision or a picture of like co-creating, co-developing with AI in that case.
Yeah, I'm already using like in terms of agentic workflows, I'm using it for, vibe coding. I'm using it for deep research, right? That's kind of being outsourced to AI. And I think in the future, just getting inbound, like one of your pillars is proactive, right? So like getting any inbound customer feedback. Because right now I'm just like copy and pasting a bunch of stuff into Gemini and try to get feedback.
Yeah. I think that's another part. You'd mentioned earlier about how a lot of the AI products in the market today don't really understand you. And that's like the personal side of it. The proactive side is a similar insight. Most of these AI products today, even ones from Google, you have to bring everything to it. You have to bring the context. You have to bring the prompt. You have to do all this work. And I think what we're really excited about with Gemini is like, how could Gemini actually like get to work for you? And sort of have your interests in mind, an understanding of what your goals are, what your projects are, maybe for the week or whatever, and then kind of bring you suggestions or kind of move things forward in the background. So I think that's a whole other frontier that we're just starting to explore.
Yeah, that'll be amazing. Like if it tells me like, here's your upcoming week and here's kind of what you prep, like it'd be like a lot of moments of delight if you can do stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, imagine you wake up in the morning and it's like, hey, Peter, here's like your 7 meetings you have today. Here's like 2 or 3 things in each meeting are really important. And be sure to ask this question in this meeting so you get like a decision on this part or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many of these on like in the workplace that are really cool. And then I think on the consumer side, we also did, I don't know about you, like it's a very full life outside of work too. You know, we have like young kids and we're running around from different things. It's like if you
Yeah.
had something like Gemini that could help organize some of that and be proactive about that, that's also, we think, just like hugely valuable.
Yeah, like imagine the kid schedules is like a nightmare, man. I need AI's help. It's a lot of work.
It's like, send help.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And real quick, just like the last one is powerful. So what does that mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think maybe the most near-term example of this you're seeing is something like Nano Banana,
Okay.
where we've taken kind of like a capability that would have taken either a lot of time or a lot of expertise or money and just making it available in like
Mm.
such a powerful way. And I think this is where I had to tweet a couple of weeks ago. I felt so bad. We had to kind of like temporarily cap the generations people were doing because we were literally about to tip over the whole service with the TPE. And
Yeah, yeah.
I think that when you kind of give someone that power and that ability to kind of make that kind of something from nothing, like some of those examples we showed,
Yeah.
there's a lot more of that coming. And I think that's one of the things that's really exciting working at Google right now is, of course, there's all the cool product stuff and the scale and all of that, but there's an incredible team in Google DeepMind that are just dreaming up all kinds of new raw model capabilities. And so
Yeah.
being able to kind of connect those to those product experiences, hopefully that can bring some more power to people in their daily life.
Yeah, that sounds fun, man. Like you're just getting candy every day from the DeepMind team. It's like,
Yeah, it's
here's a new
fun.
model, here's a new model. Yeah.
It's really, really fun to work together with them for sure.
So let's wrap this. Like it sounds like a great time to be at Google. And you mentioned some of the traits that you look for.
Hmm.
Like how how can like if people want to join your team, like how do people like prepare? Like just go vibe code a bunch of stuff or
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, right? This I feel like started a few years back where people are like, "Hey, look at my GitHub. Don't worry about my resume," kind of thing.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, that's probably one of the clear signals we're looking for.
Yeah.
What cool stuff are you building with AI? I always love it when we interview people, whatever their background, and they come in and they've done deep analysis of our products.
Mm.
And they have a lot of feedback about, hey, this is really good. This is really bad. This is where you're beating the competition. This is where you're getting smoked by the competition.
Yeah.
I think that shows like both critical thinking, but it also shows like product taste and like an
Mm.
ability to kind of form opinions about what matters to users. And then I think the other thing is like, I mean, we do a lot of stuff on X and Discord and others. I mean, we've hired people out of those groups too that are, power users that love the stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the other thing. I mean, we're really interested in people who care about the mission.
Mm.
And, for us, that goes all the way back to kind of, I always think one of my favorite words in Google's mission statement is like, how do you make all this technology kind of accessible and then useful? And I think
Mm.
that's the interesting word is like, we live in kind of this weird moment in time where even if you paused all the model development, there's probably still like 5 or 10 years worth of stuff you could build that's useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, the model development is not slowing down. So there's even more coming. So it's like, how do you kind of translate it into useful stuff?
Yeah, I mean that's what like I think Google's original mission was to organize the world's information, and like AI is probably better at that than anything I've seen,
Yeah,
So
that's right.
makes a
That's
lot of
right.
sense.
Yeah, it's never been more relevant. That's true.
Yeah. Awesome, Josh. Well, where can people find you online, give you feedback about stuff?
Oh yeah. Well, feel free at any point. Yeah, I guess probably I'm most on X at Josh Woodward. But yeah, I hang out in our labs Discord. And we're always looking for feedback on the products and how to make them better. So keep it coming.
Yeah, I'm very bullish at Google because you guys are getting feedback now. You guys are iterating fast. This is really good stuff. Yeah. So thanks for your hard work.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks for having me here today. It was great to see you.
All right, cool.